preparing and seeing our thought object. With a thorough knowledge of the preliminaries involved in visualizing, we are possessed of the secret of our Aladdin's lamp. We know the method of its operation, and we are ready to apply this method in bringing to us whatsoever in good we want to have, to be, or to do. We have confidently selected a certain definite mental object, which by means of this method of deliberate visualizing has become the object of our heart's desire. It may be a much needed sum of money for ourselves or for someone whom we dearly love or want to help. It may be a home, it may be the establishment of a business, or it may be any other object in life which we want to bring into outward visibility. Our formulating faculties have been at work specializing and differentiating our desire. It has been placed in the current of our objective thinking and now has taken shape as an object of thought in the photographic studio of our objective minds. Suppose we take 3 definite objects, all of which can be coordinated into what we may term the outpicturing of a career. Let these objects be $5,000, a business, and a home. We now begin to condition ourselves mentally for this purpose. Our first consideration is the quiet, darkened room in some part of the house. This room will serve every mental purpose which we have covered in our preliminary studies: studio, dark chamber, and developing room. We remember that if such a room is not available, then our work can be carried on at night, in bed, just as effectively. In fact, the very early hours are best for our work, and wherever possible, the student should accommodate himself or herself to these hours. Seating ourselves in a comfortable armchair which will permit the greatest possible relaxation, or reclining on a couch or lying in bed, we begin our practical work by bringing the object of our heart's desire, our career, to mind. We recall the fact that this action of the will requires as little strenuous effort as does the photographer in placing his object in a position where he can photograph it to the best advantage. In fact, if the object is truly desired, then it is uppermost in our minds, and in that position soon makes its presence felt in our consciousness without any effort on our part. We must remember that we feel our mental object before we see it. The entire process involved in establishing a thought object in the mind and photographing it is almost so instantaneous that we are not consciously aware of any stages. And yet it is the incitement of the object in our mind which makes us think about it, and upon it, as we sit in our darkened room, and this means that a steady stream of our thinking is directed toward our objects in the same manner in which the sun's rays pour themselves about and upon material objects. Moved by the gentle heat generated by our thinking, our mechanical faculties, the mechanical apparatus of the mind, which we have termed our mental camera, imperceptibly glides into action, and in this same instant, sitting in our darkened room, we behold the object not outwardly but inwardly. We are seeing our objects now, not directly, but by means of the single inner mental eye of the mind's camera, which has caught up, collected, and transmitted the rays of our illumined thinking into the illumining chamber of our consciousness. We behold our objects there and study them by means of reflection. Wherever we fix our look now in the darkness of the room, whether upon the wall or ceiling or floor, or when our physical eyes are closed, we will see the phenomenon of our objects projecting themselves. They will appear first as a disc of white light, and then slowly and gradually resolve themselves into the objects contained in the mind. We are seeing our mental objects now as projected thoughts or images of light, capable for the moment of extension by reflection outside of ourselves. Wonderful indeed is this phenomenon of the projective power of mind, but it is only the beginning of a mental projection which will carry our thoughts later on to distances and places far beyond the range of our own limited vision. As we sit in our silence room and contemplate our thought, we seek to make our reflection of it more clear by getting more light of understanding upon it, since the more understanding we can apply, the more clear the subsequent impression will be. Sitting quietly, we bring into play that informative or illuminative light which has become part of us as the result of observation and experience, or as the result of relating ourselves to the universal source of all understanding of which we are part. From whatever source our enlightenment comes, we must pour all of it now at this time of reflection, so that we may see our object in the clearest light possible. The thought of money, business, home must be so illumined that in reflection we must see clearly all that which pertains to it. We must remember that we are dealing with things, and that no matter how much we may sublimate them in our visualizing, they are yet conditional, and for this reason they are related to circumstances and conditions. And these circumstances and conditions must be known and seen and made to conform themselves as a part of the picture of our career. For instance, our $5,000 may not really suffice for the enterprise we have in mind. It may be of a nature which will not permit much home life. It may require residents abroad, and those for whom we are planning a home may not want to leave their own present environment for various reasons, which must be taken into account. These are circumstances and conditions which enter into our picture, and upon which the light of understanding must be poured. Then too, we must be familiar by means of outward observation and experience with the things which relate themselves to our inner picture. If our thought of $5,000 is a vague one, then before we try to see it clearly in mind, we must go to the bank and ask the teller to show us 5 1,000 bills or 50 100 bills, which we study carefully, and in this way we get more light upon the money. We are able to see it mentally more clearly. So with the business enterprise, if it is an automobile business we have in mind, we visit automobile factories and observe the method of building an automobile. So with the home, we visit the homes of our friends, we become acquainted with the various kinds of architecture, the kinds of brick and timber, the arrangement of rooms, and every other detail which will help to throw light upon the thought of the home which we are contemplating now. However, there is yet a finer, rarer light of understanding which we will now apply, an enlightenment which will make our reflected thought of money, business and home ever so much more clear for impressive purposes, and which will bring us ever so much more positive results. We stimulate this finer inner light of understanding when in our contemplation we ask ourselves, why do I want the $5,000, the business, the home? And when we answer this question from the inner spiritual source of all light of our being, we bring a flood of illumination upon our projected thought. We now begin to see our thought about the money, the business, the home in an entirely different light, as we say. We see now that it is not the thing which we want, but rather that which the thing symbolizes. It is not the outer object, but the inner object which we are in the process of bringing forth. What is this inner object of purpose? It is not the money, but the power which money symbolizes. It is not the business, but the means it provides us for extending our goodwill to others and for providing happiness to those whom we love. It is not the home, the building of brick or timber, but the comfort, the peace, the love, the joy, the domestic felicity, the shelter and protection which a home represents or should represent. The more we see our objects in this light of spiritual understanding, the more inspired we become, and this inspired thinking provides the radiant and luminous mental light whereby our object becomes crystal clear to us.